change that leads to other parts of Nigeria, into Ogun State and into Lagos State. This is Lagos. Welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Welcome back. Let's run you through some of the dailies here today, and we'll start with Daily Trust. Insecurity. Tinubu governors small state police. That was the big news yesterday while they had that conversation with the president, the governors, and several other persons. But look at the writers here. You thought lots of people would agree with this, right? Think again. They want to kill Nigeria finally. XAIGF Inaligu. It's a dangerous move, says Professor Jibrin Ibrahim. President rules out food importation. And then orders NSA, IGP, DSS, DG to tackle hoarding. So it is the big one here today. So that's Daily Trust.
It will form a lot of our conversations here today, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's take a look at the Leadership newspaper this Friday. Tinubu governors up for state police. Everyone talking about state police. The structure that is needed for that state police to work is something that needs to be ironed out. And then, of course, the fears that many people have about state police and they being used by governors as personal mercenaries, so to speak. So that conversation coming up much later, but that is the major story there from the Leadership newspaper. More on it from page 4. Sets up committee on state police, forest rangers. President orders crackdown on food hoarders. Federal government rules out food importation to tackle hardship. More on that story, page 4 of the Leadership newspaper.
The Vanguard newspaper has the same story. Insecurity. Tinubu governors agree on state police. And the riders to work with governors, National Assembly to put mechanism to engender state police. President orders NSA, DSS, IGP to deal with foodstuff hoarders. Says no to food importation, to train forest rangers to man forests. Governors urged to pay salary arrears, gratuities. Reps task IG to implement community policing. Well, that story is on page 5 of the paper today.
Have a look at Blueprint. FG states more state police to secure over 230 million Nigerians. And you see that also leads here. Agree on tackling food hoarders. Tinubu vows to remove rent seekers. Rules out price control, food importation.
And then the Guardian newspaper this morning, abandoned facilities dot landscape, retard sports potential growth. That's from the Guardian newspaper, the big story there. And of course, we're seeing the story about state police and, of course, hardships being faced by Nigerians. All of that and more, pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian this morning.
The Nigerian Observer has that same story as well, but the lead story of the Nigerian Observer this morning: Nigerians adjust lifestyles, reset priorities amid soaring prices. Hunger rises, malnutrition looms as households cut down on food. That's the lead story of the Nigerian Observer. Of course, I can't ignore that picture of Simeon, the Nigerian spirit, but hey, as the Nigerian Observer's lead story today.
Well, have a look at this Nigeria today. Insecurity, FG, governors seal deal to establish state police. Fine-tune strategies for implementation. Kick against food importation to encourage local producers. Tinubu orders NSA, DSS, IGP to crack down on hoarders of food items. That's the big one on the front page here today. Okay, and then you also do have, if you go a little further, you get to see the new Telegraph. Just a minute, we'll come to you soon. But look at this on Forex. CBN holds cash payments for PTA, BTA. But a little further breakdown on insecurity. FG State Mall, creation of forest rangers, state police. So all of that also highlighted on the front page of New Telegraph today.
The Daily Independent newspaper is also interesting this morning. It is also, of course, talking about that same issue of rising insecurity. Tinubu governors agree to consider state police. Brainstorm on ways to boost food production. President orders crackdown on hoarders of food items. FG to train forest rangers, vows no food importation. That's the lead story of the Daily Independent as well today. And if you check the flip to the Business Day newspaper, it's very interesting the way it's put. Big story says, Nigeria flirts with worst social crisis since 1999. That story is also right there on the front page of the paper this morning. You also have on the front page of Daily Times, fuel crisis looms as tanker owners set to stop lifting petrol Monday. You want to find out why? That story you'll find details of on page 4 of the paper this morning. Let me take one pick, one pick from some of the dailies this morning, 1 or 2 picks. But how about the Guardian newspaper? The front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning is talking about something that is a little troubling, and that will be my first take. Seeing how sports, football in particular, brought us all together, pulled us all together in the past few weeks. The troubling headline on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning, on sporting behavior. Abandoned facilities dot landscape, retard sports potential growth. The details of that you'll find on pages 4 and 5. From what I understand, the years where there was the build up to, was it 1986 or 1987, where the first under-17 World Cup, under-17 FIFA World Cup took place. You know, it was a fully homegrown team. They were all under 17. The Undukagba days of this world and the rest of them. They were all under 17, and guess what? They were all homegrown in some sporting facility in this country, Nigeria, and it wasn't even in Lagos, to the best of my knowledge. Now, the potential is what the Guardian is talking about this morning, in my opinion. Of course, details of the story you'll find on pages 4 and 5 this morning. But to find that we have abandoned facilities all through the nation. The National Stadium in Lagos in particular is one that is rather troubling. Of course, Lagos State government is doing its own bit to take care of its own facilities, Teslim Balogun Stadium, and then there's another one on the Onikan Stadium. They're also there. But say, what is the federal government doing with its own facilities? What are the states doing as well? I remember there's one facility in Akwa Ibom. We were asking Mr. Peterside the other day the capacity of 1 or 2 of our facilities, and they aren't really that big. But shouldn't we be able to take care of what we have? We know the potential of sports to provide employment, to give focus to youth so that they are not as restive as they normally would be, to give them a sense of being. We know there's potential in sports. Can we milk this? Dear Sports Minister, I want to believe that you are well aware of this. That's my take from the front page of The Guardian this morning. Kayla.
Indeed, that particular headline, of course, calling to mind the importance of sports facilities and what they do for the young people of this country. Getting up in the morning, knowing that there is a stadium somewhere where you can go and play football, not just some makeshift facility, but, one that actually is functional. Very important sports when it comes to youth development in our country. And that is one area, of course, very true, that needs to be addressed. It has to be looked at. That headline there from the Guardian newspaper, of course, very troubling. But, of course, everyone is looking at the major headlines. What stands out for me, really, and, of course, it has been standing out to news people since yesterday, that meeting that President Bola Tinubu had with the governors and conversation about state police. We also saw that in other programs here on Channels Television yesterday, talking about the modalities for its functionality. How do they get paid? How do we ensure that they don't become the stooges of governors? How do we make sure that the police, state police, everyone has talked about, the benefit of it. In fact, we're seeing, sort of like a move by many governors, sometimes in clusters, like in regions, coming together to form some sort of security force. There's the argument for it, but the argument against it is one that many Nigerians are, very particular about. But of course, the conversation about state police, and my headline today that stands out is from leadership: Insecurity, Tinubu governors opting for state police. That stands out for me this morning from the headlines. Chamberlain.
Well, don't be in a hurry. That's what we're going to be discussing this morning. So we'll get perspectives from lawyers. We'll look at the legal perspective. We'll look at the question of abuse. How will it fly? So all of these things, they'll talk to us. So let's keep our gunpowder dry on that one. But I think it's already, the host might have left the stable right now.
Well, yeah.
From what you said. But one interesting area too, guys, it's about food security. Yes, the president did say that, look, no importation. I think a lot of people wanted to hear such because they needed to ensure that they grow the local market, food production capacity here needs to be at least improved upon in several ways, in more ways than one, as they say. But it's a huge thing because if you look through some of the dailies this morning, different areas talking about, in fact, one of the dailies highlighted how a vehicle knocked down a certain 36-year-old in one of the markets in the FCT who was trying to escape with a woman's foodstuff. He was pretending to help her, and then he wanted to run away with it, and so that happened. So that's how dire it is at the moment. So market women who are also trying to eke out a living, not even sure now. So it's something that they really need to address. Off-takers, storage, all of those are in the mix. And I'm not even going to go to power sector. That's a different kettle of fish entirely. You could imagine if we have that working, the kinds of challenges and solutions that would bring to us. What are states even doing about it? The bill has been signed into law now. What are states doing in that area? Agric and power. States need to be stand up and be counted because many of them, can any one of you out there remember or tell us, did you see your governor? Did you get any impact whatsoever about the palliatives, the 2 billion? Is it 2 trillion now?
In fact, the word palliative has become a trigger for many Nigerians because it's ethereal in a way. It's something that they hear about but have never seen. Yeah,
but the monies that have been given to the governors, what has happened to it? That's important. So that's it, though. It wraps up a look at some of the dailies here this morning. We'll be back and talk about this debate, this question, this discussion that the president held with the governors yesterday. Stay on with us.
The Duchess International Hospital caters to every aspect of a family's health needs. A one-stop shop for maternity and child health services, emergency medicine and critical care, medical and surgical subspecialties, dental and eye care, and a range of other subspecialties and services, all available at a single location right here in the heart of Ikeja. And it really doesn't matter if you're paying out of pocket using your HMO or private insurance. We focus completely on providing that world-class affordable healthcare for all the family at all times.
Ovaltine kyakkyawan zaɓi domin yara masu basira. Bola Tinubu arriving at the council chamber for this emergency meeting. Present are the Vice President, some ministers, the National Security Advisor, and state governors. Top on the agenda is the issue of security and the rising cost of food across the country. Over an hour later, the Minister of Information and some governors emerged from the meeting to brief State House correspondents on the resolutions reached. The minister outlines decisions taken to ensure more investment in agriculture and address the hoarding of commodities.
At this point that the nation requires food to be brought out to the people so that we can control prices and put food on the table of most Nigerians, other commodity traders are busy hoarding these commodities so that Nigerians will suffer or they will make more money as a result. So the governors and Mr. President have taken this decision that security agencies will cooperate or collaborate with the state governors to ensure that this ends. A decision has also been taken that in the interest of our country, there will be no need for food importation at this point. What we are seeing now is just a temporary difficulty that will soon go away. Therefore, the solution to it is by continuous investment in agriculture so that food can be made available to all Nigerians.
The meeting also agreed that there has been an improvement in the security situation in the country. However, they also agree more needs to be done.
We have seen significant improvement. In Borno, for example, areas where farmers have not been able to cultivate as a result of security, those farmers have now returned to their farms. It is also the same thing in Jigawa and many parts of the country. Mr. President and the state governors have also discussed the possibility of improving the numeric strength of forest rangers to train them so that they can keep our forest and our borders very safe. Now, there is also a discussion around the issue of state police. The federal government and the state governments are mulling the possibility of setting up state police.
The president and governors also agreed to address the issue of youth unemployment in the country.
Mr. President has also called on the state governors to join hands with the federal government to provide more for our people, especially the teeming youth population. There is going to be a joint program between the state governments and the federal government to ensure that our teeming youth population is gainfully employed so that we reduce to the barest minimum the issue of unemployment in the country.
The meeting is expected to hold more frequently to resolve the issues as well as ensure improved coordination of responses to national interventions. From the Presidential Villa, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
So that's what we're starting off with here today on the program. Mr. Monday Obani joins us next. He's the former second vice president of the NBA and former chair, Speedel. Good morning and thank you for joining us on the program today. This right here is something that you've written about a number of times and spoken about as well. This question of having multi-level policing. But let's have a look at some of these images that we're going to show you now, because almost all the states, in fact, all the states, upon checks, they all have one form of security outfit or the other. So, okay, yeah. So, Mr. Bani, give us your impression about this, because yesterday they had this conversation in terms of forest rangers, multi-level policing and things like that. So, today we also have seen some fears about some people who think, in fact, one headline said they want to kill Nigeria, bury Nigeria finally. Another said it will be dangerous. Give us your perspective.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kimberly. My position has always been that we have used over-centralized police system all these years, and we have not been able to get requisite results that actually give us impression that we are properly being policed. And the idea has been, look, why don't we have state police allowing various states that are actually willing to fund the policing system now, to have their own policing system. It's a constitutional issue. We have to really tinker with the Constitution. And all along, there has been this disagreement that we cannot, coming from the federal government most times opposing the idea of state policing. Now that the government of President Tinubu and the state governors have actually agreed, to me, it's clearly a welcome development. Is something that will make us, to really try other method of policing system to see the kind of result we should be able to get. Now, the fears of Nigerians, and those fears are real, is that, look, if you allow state police, there are some governors that may likely abuse the state policing system. That has been the fear. And my answer to that is that we must try as much as possible to make the law to be very robust. What do I mean by that? We must create a system in which we state what constitutes an abuse by the state agencies. If there is any likelihood of abuse in any time they are policing the state, and we have allowed for policing system that is state, then this and this will apply. We must also make it optional. That is very important. We must make it optional, because any state that wants to run a state policing system must have the necessary requisite funding, must make sure we have the requisite number of police, and make sure that all the things that they require in terms of welfare and kitting and all the instruments that we use in order to ensure effective policing system in the various states will be made available. So it's going to be optional. It's not going to be a one-size-fits-all system. No, it's only state that is willing and have already undertaken to make sure that all the necessary things that will make state policing to be effective is in place. That state will be given the opportunity to run a state policing system and all that. So to me, this shows sensitiveness on the part of this government, that they are listening, and they are listening and taking note of
Uhuru yet, Mr. Bani. Yeah. Because these are politicians, don't forget. What if they're just dropping a kite or flying a kite, or just say, give them a little something to just chew on, and then we could debate on this forever in the National Assembly. But let me ask you this.
No.
Yeah, just hold on a minute.
Yes.
What about for those who may argue that not all states can fund it? What do we do?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It should be optional.
Optional.
It's not going to be one size fits all. Yes, optional. So if a state, undertakes, look, we want to have a state police, then there is minimum requirement for you to have a state police. All these things must be well spelled out in the Constitution. It's a constitutional issue. It is a constitutional issue. So it's not all size fits all. So it must be a state that is willing and say, look, I have the capacity. I have the requisite number of policemen that I can recruit in order to run my state police and all that. So if that is not there, then the law must also make provision for issue of abuse. In case there is any tendency, any threat of abuse, this and this will apply. So the safeguards must be very robust. As I'm saying, that it's not something we rush and just, all the stakeholders must come in and debate the issue. The Senate has constituted the amendment committee of our Constitution, and this is the time for this matter to be brought before the new committee that will be set up in order to amend our Constitution, because they have to amend the Constitution in the first place. And so it is the right time, and I'm happy that the governors have now agreed, and I'm happy that the federal government itself has also agreed. But we must be careful in getting experts to look at the law. What will make states now to create a state police? Those conditions must be spelled out. It must be optional. You must have the capacity. Then the inbuilt mechanism to avoid an issue of abuse must also be taken care of, even in the law itself. That is my take. It is something that is very...
Mr. Albani,
yes.
I want to talk to you on that particular point, because really, because of that situation, capacity of states to be able to handle this, some other people have proposed regional policing, where it is the states in the region that, have a police force and are able to pool resources together and ensure accountability among states. Do you think that's a better option than each individual state having a state police?
The problem is that we're not running a regional government present. What we're running is state, a federal structure in which we have federating units in states. And so I don't want a situation where regions will begin to, pose some level of complexities and problem in terms of funding. Oh, this state will bring, another state will not bring the money. I rather want a state, that says, look, we have the capacity, we have the funding capacity. We can also have the requisite number of instruments or tools, for the Nigerian police. For the police we want to set up. So let it be that the state will take that decision.
Mr. Albani, as long as an adjustment is being made, can there be room for this idea? Because you have stated there, we have many states in Nigeria that are not able to pay civil servants on time or at all. And we have a situation where many states are grappling with IGR, and then there's insecurity in a lot of these states. Wouldn't it be an idea to add to this conversation? As long as we're adjusting, why not come up with the idea? And we're already seeing that, really. In the Southwest, Amotekun can be described as some sort of regional security apparatus. Does it have to be each individual state? And with the capacity problem, do you think that will truncate the process of localizing policing in the country?
It's an option, but I'm saying, look, there may be some technical issues that might pose a problem in the issue of running a regional government. One is that some states will want to have extreme control over that particular regional police. If you have a governor that is overbearing, he will want to be the one to do the entire funding and probably have overbearing influence over that regional. That already is posing a technical issue. Then we may have issue of funding jointly. When you are doing things that belongs to all common, in a common manner, most times they find it difficult for us to, agree on modalities. So that's what I'm saying, that look, for states, let's start with state police. If a state says, I'm willing, I have the capacity. After all, some of the states are the one even funding Nigerian police. If you go to some of the states, they are the one buying the equipment, they are the one buying the cars, they are the one even kitting those policemen in their various states and all that. So if a state has capacity and say we can, then let that state be in a position. I am seeing already a problem because some level of complexity in terms of joint funding, in terms of those governors that may have overbearing influence, they want to control that regional police. So I don't want that problem to occur. Let the state say, look, we are willing. We have this capacity. Let's run our state police. Let's start, from there. Maybe if it becomes the issue that the regions agree, let's make it regionally, we might go navigate into that. But for now, my own recommendation is that let's start with the state police. If a state like Lagos has the capacity, has all the willingness, to do everything that is possible to run a state police, let's allow them to do that. A state like Kano, let it not be all sides, it may not be all the states at the same time. Let's try it and see what we can do in order to effectively police our system. Our system is porous. Our system is porous. There are criminals roaming all over the place. If you see what's going on in various states, and it's not some of this news underreported. People are not safe anymore. And I want a situation where we devise a system of policing Nigeria so that Nigerians can be safe. Investors cannot come into a country that every day keep on hearing about kidnapping and armed robbery all over the place. So I think that we must begin to navigate towards a strategy of effectively policing this strategy of effectively policing this strategy.
Mr. Bani, if you can hear me, I think there are those who will tell you that we already started this multi-level policing. Chamberlain referenced a slide earlier, which I hope you will also be able to see just one more time. You have also talked about Kano, we having Hisba, and a number of other states. Lagos State, for instance, has all kinds of policing systems. They have a police system for traffic, they have a police system for the neighborhood watch, and all of that. Almost every state. So shouldn't we begin by even assessing the performance of those multi-level policing systems that we've had over time? How effective have they been? Look at the list. Every state in the country has one kind of policing system or the other. If we have not been able to do anything significant, as much as, even as little as arrest, Mr. Ubani, arrest and prosecute from all of the ones that are existing, what's to say that whatever else we'll come up with will make any difference?
That is a very intelligent question. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria provides for only one security apparatus that takes care of internal security system in the country, and that's Nigerian police. whatever, all the systems you are seeing all over the state, they are clearly contrary to the provisions of the Constitution. In the first place, they can't even be allowed to carry guns. Most times, they are not even allowed to prosecute. All these Amateku you mentioned and all that, they don't have any prosecutorial power. It's only Nigerian police they still call in at the end of the day. So what we're saying, they have been trying all these methods, although in a very illegal method, not in conformity with the provisions of the Constitution. Now we want to make it a constitutional issue.
Mr. Bani, I'm not sure you understand what I'm saying. Just 1 second. There is such a thing as citizen arrest, isn't there?
Citizen will arrest and say you have to repair that particular...
No, I'm just asking whether a citizen has the capacity to arrest.
The citizen has the capacity in an offense committed in his presence.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's the point that I'm making. That is just a second. That is enshrined in the Constitution already. So if a group of people in a community decide to put together themselves and say, we're going to watch over our own community because of the threats that we are having, that, from what you have just said now and confirmed now, is constitutionally guaranteed. If they decide to sew a uniform for themselves and say, this is a community thing, it's not any government thing, it is our own policing system, a group of citizens coming together, is that against the law? They are not prosecuting, they are only arresting and handing this fellow over to the police for prosecution.
Yes, but the kind of people you will arrest are those who are not carrying arms. Maybe somebody who wants to break a house and he doesn't have any instrument. If you confront somebody who has all the instruments, lethal instrument to destroy you, you will be afraid to arrest that person.
So the point that I'm making, I get that, Mr. Obani. So the point that I'm making is, isn't there a need for an assessment of the various interventions of the states? Let's even say it's base level citizen engagement. Isn't there a need to assess that to see whether or not each of these states have what it takes to have a state police, from the argument that you are making that it shouldn't be a one-size-fits-all?
I'm not against your assessment. I'm only saying that let's give legitimacy to those units you're already creating that have no legitimacy in law. It's only the Nigerian police under the Constitution that has the power to internally police Nigeria today as I speak to you. Any other one that the states have created is really at variance with the provisions of the Constitution. We are now saying, can we give legitimacy to the states and that has capacity? It's very important that you define that has capacity and say, we are willing to do this. We are willing to undertake this particular process of policing our state because we have the capacity. Let that state be allowed to now give legitimacy to those units and give them arms and prosecute also in the process. You don't need to bring in Nigerian police anymore. You will have the right to arrest, you have the right to investigate, you also have the right of prosecuting in court and ensuring that your state is safe. We are saying, take into cognizance the fact that it has no legitimacy all this while. We want now to make it a constitutional issue. That state that has capacity should be able to do this. That is my argument. All along, we have been running all those units that have no constitutional backing. Now we want to now constitutionalize it and make sure that those states that have that capacity should be able to do this. Carry gun, arrest, prosecute them. At the end of the day, we'll see the level of policing system we probably attain as a nation.
Well, since it's still at the stage of mulling by the federal government and the state governments, what are the challenges you see? Because as Kayla mentioned, some states, for instance, are not able to pay salaries. Funding is a problem. What are the other challenges that you see that has to be discussed and factored in?
Yeah, I agree with you that some states, may not be willing to engage at this particular level now. Let's see other states that
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure that we'll get Mr. Ubani back into this conversation, and if we don't, well, I guess the points have already been made. Well, Chamberlain, okay, well, go ahead.
Point out that there are other things you have to take into consideration. State policing itself does not in any way cure the effect of insecurity. You must employ technology. It's very important. My problem with our policing system is that it actually, because I didn't have the opportunity to complete my sentence.
Yeah, but I think we actually heard, I thought that was what we heard, but yes, indeed, we have to anchor at this point. Mr. Monday Ubani, former second vice president of the NBA and former chair, Speedel. Thank you for your time today. Okay, so we'll return in a moment now and talk about some survey that ranks states. We'll give it a breakdown in just a moment. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. We'll turn our attention now to this survey, which Mr. Victor Mba is here to speak to us about. He is the head of Abuja office for PCL. Good morning. Thank you for coming in today.
Good morning, Chamberlain. Nice to have me.
Yeah, so there's this report.
Yeah.
PCL State Performance Index Report, PSPI, where you looked at different states, you ranked them in different categories. In fact, yeah, there you go. That's it right there on the screen. Yeah. So if you have a look at that, so you see the states, the socioeconomic potential, the socioeconomic performance, survey-based performance, survey-based risk management, overall rank, PSPI rating, you see the remark and the outlook.
Yeah.
So tell us, what is this about?
Okay, so thank you very much once again. So the PSPI looks at the achievements of the different states, compare those achievements with their potentials, and also look at what the people are saying, because ultimately it boils down to impact. Whether it's growing of the IGR, increasing the GDP, increasing literacy rate, how does it actually affect people? So after we have looked at all the different performance indicators, at the end of the days, how does it affect people? So there's a survey component part of it. That's why you can see survey-based performance, survey-based risk assessment.
So if you take a look at that, guys, now the top, we see concerning the overall remark, Gombe happens to be first with a AAA PSPI rating, excellent performance. And it doesn't appear to be a fluke, because I remember the time that there was this ease of doing business, Gombe also came top. So one wonders, what's going on in yeah, so could you talk to us about this? How did Gombe top this?
Okay, Gombe, the people in Gombe are happy with what the government in Gombe is doing.
Oh.
Yes, and when you look at this snapshot, you can see Gombe outperformed their potential.
Wow.
In terms of potential, they were ranked 36th. And when you look at the ease of doing business, the GDP, the IGR, the literacy rate, employment rate, and all of those things, they clearly outperformed their potential. And beyond that, the people are satisfied.
Wow.
So if the government is doing something, they are doing it right. Everybody is happy. And that is what have made Gombe come up. And it's interesting, just like you have said, many people ask, why Gombe? When you think of Nigeria, you think of Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Ogun State, Anambra State, Kano, Kaduna. But Gombe State, why? Yes, the government is doing something right and the people are happy. Of course, you look at another state like Lagos. Lagos clearly is a performing state.
But they are fourth.
Yes.
They've got huge resources.
That's why you see them
fourth.
number one in terms of
Socioeconomic potentials?
Number one in terms of performance.
Yeah.
So IGR, they are high up there. GDP, their budget is about 2 point something trillion budget. Yes, but what are the people saying? So Lagos ranked 19th and 26th in terms of our survey, but because they performed very well.
Wait, Victor. Where is Abuja on this?
FCT.
Yeah, where's FCT here? What's going on?
FCT is the 5th, just after Lagos.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Okay.
Yes,
And
number
we
5.
rank 5th.
Yes.
I mean,
are you in government? Are the people happy with you?
We're here.
Yes.
We're from here.
Oh, okay.
It's a government by the people.
Maybe the people are happy with our government. Then.
What I want to find out from you is, do states use this? Have you been able to get any states to look at this and say, okay, we're going to use this as some sort of yardstick?
Yes,
to do better.
Exactly. We are discussing with different states. We've had different meetings, we visited several states to discuss our outcomes to the state and how they can use this report. And most importantly, this is just like a summarized report capturing all the states.
Okay.
Because if you decide to make it so detailed, it will be unmanageable in size. So for each state, we do state-specific reports. So for Gombe State, there's a Gombe State report. For Anambra, there's an Anambra State report. So if the states want, they can contact us.
Wait, how did your group decide to do this? What informed that decision?
Okay, so Phillips Consulting, we have a survey desk, and right from time we run surveys, we rank airlines, we have what we call our digital jurist, where we rank different government organizations based on their digital footprint. So we've always been in that business of perception survey. Yeah, and this is completely free of charge. You can go to the website, download all our reports, because we see that, like, you look at the federation, the magic of the federation happens in the states. Today in Nigeria, we have a lot of resources being pushed down to the state because of the removal of subsidy. Just in your last program, we were talking about state
listen.
Yes, that's also something happening in the state. So the government is saying, you know what, security, the state should handle it. Now, kind of. So citizens should begin to hold their government accountable. And this report that we have come up with, it can be used in 4 major ways. The first way is to set a baseline for performance. Okay, in 2020, this year we are ranked 10th position. Next year we want to go higher. It can also inform citizens. They can begin to ask the right questions and participate in government.
This is clearly available to the public.
It's on our website. You go to our website, you go to the Insights section, and you see all our reports there, including this one.
These states that are underperforming,
yes,
Delta, Plateau, Nasarawa, Zamfara, Abia, Imo, underperformance, and they got double B rating, in fact, negative for some of them. So did they reach out to this report? Did they use that as a measure to see how they can improve? What do you think of them? Have they reached out anywhere whatsoever?
Okay, so the states that are underperforming, if you look at it again, you discover that they did not perform to the level of their potential. And the citizens ranked them low in terms of how satisfied they were with the performance of the states. So all the data that informed this report came from the states. The people we surveyed are people who live in the states and who are from the states.
What sort of data?
Okay, we use secondary data, speaking to things around GDP, per capita income, ease of doing business, and all of that. Then in our survey, we ask questions that relate to institutions, security, healthcare, education, corruption, and a lot of other indicators that can be seen from the report if you look at the report.
What's your sample size?
We sampled about 6,096 people. That's an average of about 150 per state.
So, how do you pick your sample? Is it a random selection?
Okay, so our surveys are online. So you go online, you take the survey, and we also have foot soldiers, of course, that go to some of these states and collect data from people. But for the next report, we are working very closely with the Nigerian Governors Forum because they have a lot of data They are doing a very great job in, being the secretariat for all the state governors. They have data and they have wide reach. So for the next one, we are looking at having a substantial number of respondents from the state. But even at the 150 per state on the average, is a very good number.
Well, when you say you're working with Nigerian Governors Forum, no pun intended, but what are they going to provide you? Respondents or what?
Okay. Data, insights, because of course they've been working with the states longer than we have, and much more involved with the states. So they have more insights. So it's like a one-stop shop for us.
Okay, we are working with not the governors, but the forum.
The forum, yes.
So are we saying now that we don't expect, if that forum provides you with, say, respondents, they will not, of course, be beholden to the state and speak well of the state, which will definitely not be the kind of thing you want. You want objective assessment.
I mean, to add to that, because that means you're working with the NGF Secretariat. Does the NGF Secretariat not, because in charge of that NGF Secretariat is the state governor. Okay. How do you ensure fairness? And how do you know they won't muscle you into saying, no, we will send you the respondents? Which is why I asked you about this sampling method. Is it a random sampling? If I was going to get information about Abuja, and I wanted to know how people felt about the new security intervention in the FCT, we would have to do them in clusters. That way we can cover the entire state, not so? Yes. So I'm trying to find out, when you did this report, how did you get the people who gave you the data that you used to write this report?
Okay. So for all our surveys, if you are in our survey respondent lists, you will see you get regular emails on the surveys that we run. So it's open for everybody. You have this link, you send them to your WhatsApp group, people respond in your groups. It's just random sampling. It's open for everybody. It's online.
Because this governor here that is in negative here from Niger State and the other one, and Imo, yes, and Benue, they will knock your survey, don't you think?
Well,
do you get the criticism from them? Have you been getting criticism?
Well, we expect that, but what we are saying is you look at it from the positive side. For instance, I'll tell you, if I'm an investor, I said I want to invest in healthcare, I'll look for the states that are not doing very well in healthcare and go there for the intervention that I want to bring in. Yes, so it's not all negative, no. In every assessment, somebody must come first and somebody must rank lower. Every assessment. And when you look at the outlook simply looks at the potential of the states and some of the initiatives that they are doing. Looking at what these states are doing and where they are ranked currently, how do we match it? Do we see hope?
So the secretariat will not, there will be no one who will be beholden or skew their response because it came from any such secretariat.
It remains a Phillips Consulting report.
All right.
Yes, it remains a Phillips, but the secretariat just provides insight and, reach to a lot of respondents. Yes.
Yeah, this is hugely important because we talk about several times on this program that, look, we can't politicize data. You have to have data to plan. And so if you don't have data to plan, then, I don't know, you might just be planning to fail. But Ayo, this is different from the Auditor General's report, by the way.
Well, yeah, I agree. But at the end of the day, my default is always the people. How does this affect the people? And I'm glad, Mr. Mba, that you talked about the fact that a lot of the feedback, the survey rankings came from the states. How much of this, of the perceptions that you talked about, are as a result of inadequate, poor, or zero communication from the government to the people? How much of it is about poor engagement of citizen and of government-citizen relationship?
Okay, yes. So that even speaks to one of our recommendations. Yes, because we find out that for most of these states, what they are doing, the citizens are not really carried along. So part of what we have recommended for the states to begin to do is to engage more with their citizens, produce reports, come on air, let people understand what you're doing. You want to build a hospital. Is that what the people need? Today we are looking at palliatives that the federal government intends to give. What about the states? For instance, can a state decide to give fuel subsidy? Okay. Can a state decide to give food subsidy, healthcare subsidy, education subsidy? So what exactly do people, because the subsidy that will work for people in Lagos, I'm different from the one who work for people in Jigawa or Ebonyi State or Delta State or Edo State. Yeah, so that is there. So we have recommended that governors begin to look for constructive ways to engage with their citizens.
Well, I don't know really how many of the people in each of the states that you surveyed were able to give their opinions. I've downloaded your document, by the way, from the website that you recommended, and I am on page 19 of the whole document, where you have the general survey findings and the question: would you like to respond to governance questions as it concerns which state? In Lagos State, for instance, we have 25.82%, I want to believe, of respondents. In Gombe State, that you said came first, it was 0.71%. Please explain what that means.
Okay, so the total number of respondents were around 6,096 respondents. So this is just a percentage of how many people responded in each of those states. Of course, Lagos State has more people, and it's also more technologically advanced. So we expect more survey respondents from Lagos State. Yes, but like I mentioned, that is what this data speaks to, in the number of people that responded in each of the states. Yes, but going forward, we intend to significantly improve on the sample size such that people are happy. You look at the World Economic Forum report, for example, that we draw inspiration from. They just spoke to about 150 people in Nigeria to form their opinion and their ranking. And also, that applies to every other country in the world.
Okay. So, well, just one last question from me. My apologies, Kayla. Just one last question from me. How impactful, Mr. Mba, would you say peer review works is among governors? Do you see a peer review, an effective peer review mechanism among the governors, so that they can better the lot of their people collectively?
Okay. Yep. So, as part of also what we have recommended for all the states needs to begin to cooperate and compete. Yes. So the cooperation comes in looking at what other states are doing well. Lagos State have digitized the entire land process from land acquisition, registration to verification. Edo State has completely digitized the public service. Ebonyi State have used concrete roads instead of asphalt road, which is cheaper. So there are different things happening in different states that are very good that governors can. Jigawa State has had Jigawa Invest, a one-stop shop for investors to cut down all the bureaucracies when you go to Jigawa to invest. So we are encouraging governors to look at, instead of reinventing the wheel, look at the guys who have done it well, speak to them. We can also help you do that because we have like a helicopter view. We can help you do that. Speak to them.
We can provide the drone view. You know what I'm saying? What? We can.
Chamberlain. Yes, we can. Yes, of course we can. Now, the point I was trying to make at the time when Ayo was speaking was, you see, when they say they picked 150 people for a sample, it doesn't mean that they randomly picked 150 people or 150 people went on the website. It is a strategic sampling. And which is, what I was trying to point out. You can't say it was on the website and people were able to log in and do your survey. It has to be strategic. If you're not going to be able to expand on that sample size to be more than 7,000, I'm approximating to 7,000 for what you did for this survey, then it has to be strategic. And that's what I'm trying to find out. Was it a strategic sampling or was it random? And from your responses, it does seem like it was random.
It was strategic to an extent because, like I mentioned, we've been running surveys for over 30 years. We have a very huge database of respondents. Yes, so we apply some kind of filtering for those who respond to our surveys regularly and seem to, have a lot of insights around what's happening in the country. And again, we send these our surveys links to very reputable organizations to help us, reach out to people. And going forward, of course, channels will be one of those. We hope that for the next reports, we send you our link. You help us, advertise and get a lot of people to,
And Chamberlain, just so he can remind us, he said it's free.
Aeroplane view.
Aeroplane, okay. Well, remember, Chamberlain, he said it's free. He said this report was done for free.
Yeah. Okay.
It's free.
That's good.
Do you believe him, Chamberlain?
Well,
you have a smile that says...
That says, thank God it's Friday.
Well, right. It's very interesting.
Yeah, so the thing is, data. Mm-hmm. That's the takeaway, I think. If anyone wants to go away with anything on this, is the importance of data. So no matter what the governors say they're doing, they need to also have a multidimensional view of what could people be thinking, or what could they say, what are they saying about what we are doing. That's how copy testing theory works. When copywriters do copy, they copy test. They send it to people, find out, is it communicating the kind of message that we intend? If it's not, you go back and rejig. It's a simple, straightforward thing that people have established. So we have to thank you for coming on. This is hugely important, and we hope that you will continue with this one and expand it, such that anyone who wants to plan and work with anything can always leverage on that. I think that will be the basis of anything. So if we can do things differently with data, I think we'll achieve a lot, if I could add that one. Victor Mba is the head of the Abuja office of PCL. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Chamberlain.
All right, so it's going to be time for business news. Well, that's another data-driven session right there. So Ini Jomeka will be there now. Morning, Ini.
Chamberlain, data is really important. I'm so glad that you guys put the conversation at the desk of governors, because sometimes it seems like, even as the media, we focus so much on federal government and forget that the state and local governors and governments are even closer to the people. And of course, we have more data, such as the ones you were discussing with your guests. I guess we can push the conversation back to them and ensure that they do wake up. Well, good morning. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. So it's 30 minutes of business. That's what we will do. We're beginning from the global space, where we'll talk about oil prices. It stalled on Friday over a forecast of slowing demand by International Energy Agency after gaining in the previous session on weak U.S. retail sales data that sparked optimism that the Fed might cut interest rates sooner than expected. Looking at the prices right here now, this is one of those unusual times that we see a reverse relationship in the movement. So for Brent, we saw that it dropped 0.1% at $82.77 a barrel, while for WTI, it gained 0.99%, gained a whole lot there, at $78.07 a barrel. Both contracts climbed over 1% on Thursday as a larger than expected drop in U.S. retail sales prompted hopes that the Federal Reserve will soon start cutting interest rates, which could be positive for oil demand. The U.S. Commerce Department report showed retail sales dropped 0.8% in January, and that's the biggest fall since February 2023. And going over now to the global grain space to see how that is doing this morning. And we see that soybeans is up there 0.3%, and also Chicago wheat futures dropped on Friday, headed for their biggest weekly fall since last September after U.S. government forecast larger than expected inventories as importers struggle to compete with cheap Russian grain. Soybeans, we saw there, it edged higher. Corn fell, so we see soybeans up 0.3%
at $11.65 for 3/4 of a bushel right there. And then looking at the next one, the most active wheat contracts on the Chicago Board of Trade also was down. Corn was also down, $5.60 for 1/4 of a bushel. And also this week, and nearing September's 3-year low, CBOT of soybeans SVI also rose a bushel, but we're down around 1.5% for the week in the previous session. The contract hit $11.60 for 1/4 of a bushel, and that's its lowest since December 2020. All right, now looking at other issues coming up today. Yesterday, of course, we had that inflation number for January in Nigeria, and we saw that inflation, Nigeria's headline inflation, it saw it in January hitting a record high of 29.9%, and basically on surging food prices and the weakened naira. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the consumer price index rose 0.98% to 29.9% from 28.92% recorded in December, while core inflation, that's the one without food, rose to 23.59%. The NBS report shows food inflation jumped to 35.41% in January from 33.93%. The NBS attributes this rise in food inflation to increases in prices of potato, yam, and other tubers, as well as bread, cereal, fish, meat, tobacco, and vegetable. Analysts believe that this higher than expected inflation rate may add pressure on the Central Bank's Monetary Policy Committee to sharply raise interest rates further at its meeting that's supposed to begin on February the 26th. And that'll be for the first meeting in 7 months back here in Nigeria. Well, still talking about the central bank now. Yesterday was a flurry of circulars. It directed all authorized dealer banks to stop payment of personal travel allowance, that's PTA, and business travel allowance in cash, so you can only access those through the e-channels. According to the CBN, these allowances must now be processed through electronic channels, including debit or credit cards. This directive, signed by the Director of the Trade and Exchange Department, Dr. Hassan Mahmoud, aims to bolster transparency and stability in the foreign exchange market while curbing forex malpractices. That was not done. Dr. Mahmoud was not done, I tell you, yesterday. In a bid to regulate the flow of foreign exchange, the central bank also announced restriction on the ability of international oil companies, that's the IOCs, to fully repatriate 100% of their foreign exchange earnings from Nigeria at once. Under this significant policy change, which takes effect immediately, only 50% of proceeds from IOCs can be repatriated immediately, with the remaining 50% subject to a 90-day delay. The decision, according to the CBN, aims to address concerns about the impact of cash pooling on the domestic foreign exchange market. And by implementing these measures, the CBN seeks to strike a balance between facilitating IOCs access to their export proceeds and ensuring adequate liquidity within Nigeria's foreign exchange market. And I tell you, Dr. Mahmoud was not done even with that. A third circular came in late yesterday from the central bank, of course signed also by the Director of Trade. The CBN has reviewed the allowable limit of price deviation for exports and imports to -15% and plus 15% of global prices, instead of the initial 2.5% above the 25% above the reference point. The regulator notes that price verification system is not meant to determine the actual prices of items for tariffs or duty charged by government, but to enable the CBN curtail the excess outflow of the limits of foreign exchange through over-invoicing and other price manipulation activities. The circular was signed by the Director of Trade and Exchange Department, Dr. Hassan Mahmoud. So this was towards close of work yesterday, and so the CBN the dated 14th, so the day before. But I guess before it gets to the media, it has to go through the banks and all of those authorized dealers in FX. But now let's try to understand, having so many circulars and updates on policy coming at the same time. We don't want to be caught not understanding what each of them means. So let's talk to the Chief Executive Officer of Star Advisory Limited, Mr. Kevin Ekalufo, joins us virtually from Abuja. Mr. Ekalufo, good morning and thank you for your time.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Great. So a lot of circulars have been coming from the CBN, but the one for yesterday, let's focus on that. So the first one, of course, which I think will affect more people, will be the BTA and PTA. So, but I don't think this is the first time that the central bank is saying that it's only e-channels that can be used. I know there was a time that you could use cards if you want to travel abroad, and then you pay with your cards, although withdrawing cash even outside the country would also cost you more. But, I mean, this has been done before, so I guess it's just resuscitating something that has been in existence. I think you've muted, Mr. Ekalufo. Could you check your mute button?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
now?
I can hear you now, yes.
Yes. The reason this circular came about is because the CBN has noted that a number of people apply for PTA and PTA for their travels and maybe cancel their ticket last minute. So they divert this hard currency to other users. And so it's necessary for the regulator to curb the flow of FX because they have a limited supply. If this is not curbed, the rate of flow is not curbed, then we would deplete the reserves pretty quickly. And this would impact the exchange rates.
Then the other one on IOCs, I mean, allowing them to take 50% first and then 50% in 90 days, eventually it means they're still taking their 100%. So does it really make a difference?
Yes, it does. I must say that cash pooling is not a new concept. Almost all companies, large companies, do it. Even local companies do it. If you have multiple branches, you do cash pooling. But when the CBN has to manage a limited supply of dollars, you would need to reduce the rate at which it is going out. Also, it's also a pointer to the fact that there is relatively a run on the dollar, if you would like to put it like that, because a lot of the IOCs would rather sweep out the dollar from their subsidiaries in Nigeria quickly to their home country, because they believe that, anything could happen and their dollars could be held back and it would affect their ability to make investments, whether expansion or acquisition of other oil wells or oil fields in other parts of the world, So what it behoves on the CBN to slow this rate of sweeping of this FX out of our economy. And we are not the first country to have done this. I know that in Asia, it's difficult places like China, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, many of these Southeast Asian tigers, for you to do pooling of cash. It might be easy in Europe to do that because they have a singular policy around tax, singular policy around, and they have also a single currency. But when you have a scenario where you are a nation where you have only one source of forex, which is this trading of oil, and there's a limited quantity being sold, you have a limited amount of dollars coming into the economy. You need to slow the rate of this movement of this forex out of the economy.
But isn't that also a discouraging factor for investors? I mean, I don't think we're done with the backlog of repatriated funds that were not could not be repatriated. So isn't this just going to once again bring uncertainty among investors, foreign investors?
Well, it is possible that could happen, but let's not forget, like I said, Nigeria is not the only country doing this. There are a number of countries who are facing the same challenge and are also not allowing you to just move cash across borders, especially for something high demand like Forex, in a case like Nigeria. Even in Canada, I remember maybe around 2018, there was this issue of cash pooling and the challenges, and corporate sector in Canada had to even form a pressure group to talk to government and see how they can improve the policy to help them to allow for this cash pooling. Because if unchecked, it has negative impacts for any economy. If you can just move money anyhow at any volume at any time, it means the country could find themselves in the face.
All right, so what about the third one, which is on price verification system? Help us to understand how that works and this limit that has been moved to plus or minus 15%.
I think that policy that just changed is as a result of the global inflation. Before, the rate was 2.5%. Now they raised it to minus 15 and plus 15 for exports and for imports. The reason for PBS in the first place was to prevent over-invoicing for imports or under-invoicing for exports. Now, as it is with the global inflation, prices of items have gone up. So there is a need to review the pricing mechanism on the PBS for Nigerian imports or exports. So that is the reason behind that policy change.
But all of this, well, we do hope that eventually we would see, because yesterday the Naira dropped again to a new low, about 1,000, more than 1,600. So, I mean, the aim of all of this is to boost the value of the Naira. We hope one way or the other to go to that value, which is the aim of all of this.
But I must say that the CBN is limited in the number of tools it has to solve the problems we're currently facing. A lot of the solutions are outside the purview of the CBN. There's a need for Nigeria to start investing in heavy industries. There's a lot of the manufacturing is light manufacturing, light industries. We need to start investing in heavy industries. We need to have our steel sector start working. We're importing way too many things. A lot of chemicals we're importing for production in Nigeria that should be produced here. We hope with the coming on stream of the Dangote petroleum complex, refinery complex, that some of these chemicals will start producing them here.
Exactly. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it goes back to the bottom line, which is we need to boost our supply and reduce our import. But thank you so much, Chief Executive Officer of Star Advisory Limited, Mr. Kevin Ekalufo, for your time this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, talking about boosting local supply, production right here, MSMEs are the bottom of that. I know a lady who is very passionate. In fact, I think they call her Niger brand chick. You make up your mind for yourself when you see her. We have joining us now to discuss, giving visibility to small businesses in Nigeria to help them do better. Nelly Agbogu joins me in the studio right now. Hi, Nelly. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, so you're called Niger brand chick.
Yes.
Okay, I guess this is all Nigeria.
Yes.
Great, but you're very passionate about small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
You're passionate about visibility for small businesses. Mostly, of course, a lot of them do not have that fund to go on big television stations and all of that, but they could do social media. Are they embracing it enough? Are they catching up from that platform? Okay, I would say yes. A lot of business owners are beginning to understand the need to use social media to boost their businesses. With the way the economy is right now, you will understand that going with the brick and mortar is actually so much difficult than, having a digital real estate, which is what I call our social media these days. So when you own a digital real estate, which is your page where you are, showcasing your wares, what you're selling, how you're trying to connect with your customers, the customer experiences that you give to your customers. So that helps you to actually sell more. And what people are looking for is not someone who is trying to fake it, but looking for people who are trying to be, authentic in their ways, showing as realistic as possible. This is who I am, this is my business, and I want you to buy from me.
Yeah, but the thing with when you go to social media is you just see people who are trading, people who just import to trade. But I mean, from the last conversation we're having, we're looking for people who can produce, who can use local. Are these people there also? We see more of the people who import.
Actually, there's a lot of people who also produce. For instance, I own a business, Nelly's Nigeria, where I produce healthy snacks in Nigeria. And we use ugu to make tortilla chips. Instead of having to go and import, yes, we make ugu tortilla chips. So there are many of us here. The only problem is that we continue to look for more ways to, showcase ourselves. So what I try to tell people is that, see, instead of going to import first, you should first of all think about what are the ways that you can actually get things within Nigeria. How do you substitute all those things you want to import? Let me give you an instance. We used to use a lot of almond flour, which we import whenever we're baking our stuff at Nelly's. However, recently, we started looking for how do we use cashew instead of almonds? They're all in the same category, but can't we do cashew flour? Do you understand? So looking inwards and, trying to see how we can produce locally is very important.
So, when of course, we want to, even I think the governors and the president met yesterday and they talked about, how we're not going to import and all of that. But when you look inwards again, sometimes overhead costs even make some of those things even more. But let's talk about the advantages of visibility and the platforms available for small businesses, you understand, to showcase themselves.
So if your business is not visible, it is dead. That's just the simplest way to explain it. If people can't find you to buy what you're selling, it's almost as useless as you not starting up a business. And the best way to do this, so how do you do it? You use the social platforms that are free currently to, help to showcase your business. You can open up today freely a Facebook or Instagram page today and just start to showcase what you're selling. You can decide to start running ads to make more people know about you. You don't even need to be a star or need anybody to know you. All you need to do is to get the right messaging for your business. Let people know this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. And another thing again is take them on a story, on a journey. Don't just come there to say, come and buy. Do you understand? Take them on and say, hey, this is me, I'm a small business owner, I'm just starting up, I'm doing it afraid. I want you guys to come on this journey with me. Let's go together. And people want to follow you. They want to say, oh, I loved how hardworking you are. They want to see behind the scenes, not only the time when you're taking only the picture, you're giving us all the fine pictures. We want to see other times when you're packing the orders, the times when you're in the farm. We want to see the times when you're rearing your goods, and if you're into poultry, when you're picking up the eggs. We want to see that authentic you. That is what makes people want to buy from me, and that is how you become more visible. When I see such a thing, I'm like, babe, see this person. This person is actually doing this. This person is, then I share. That's how you have shareable content. That's how you start to go viral. Virality is simple. It's all about showcasing yourself. Virality that sells, not just, there are many virality that you have that you will not make sales, but the one that will help you to grow are the ones that are most important.
But there are some people who prefer physical. So even after you've done that, some people, if I want to buy a dress, for instance, I want to be sure of the quality of
the material, you know, and all of that. Some people really want to see you, you know. How do you handle those?
There are many ways to mitigate this, especially remember we're talking about MSMEs, small businesses, and really they don't have the money to open up stores. They can have these goods. There's something they call escrow. You can have these goods delivered to someone, but the person would have paid, but the money will not have gotten to you. But when the person gets it and they like it, then they will now release the money. They say it's called an escrow account or payment. I think most of these banks and you know, they do those kind of stuff. So what happens is that when that kind of stuff happens, it makes life much easier for both the buyer and the seller to have some sort of trust.
Yeah, but apart from that, also, you also have, for instance, I know Lagos Chamber of Commerce, they do things like trade fairs. Can small businesses afford such?
The truth is that affordability of fairs is relative. There are fairs that you go to that it is affordable, but then will you get the result that you want? No, because what makes a fair much important and gives you the visibility you want is in the marketing, is in the pushing of the brands, is in making sure that these people get to have other people who will buy from them. So that's why I said it's relative. You may want to get someone who will charge you lesser, but they will not give you anything. At the end of the day, you feel like you have lost money. But when you have people who would tested and trusted like me, I crown myself. Yes, I crown myself as queen of trade fairs, NBC Trade Fair, right? When you have someone like me at your back in your corner, I don't only teach you how to come on the fair to sell. I start to teach you how to do your marketing. I train you on what you need to do, how to get yourself ready. And when I'm done with you, your business mindset will change, your visibility. You see,
but
people,
you charge, but
yes,
you
I
charge
have to,
cost.
because I have to market them. I have to market them. So it can't be free. Do you understand? Because of the level of work that we do, the level of marketing, you need to understand that it's not easy. And you know how the cost of things are these days.
But how do you deal with small businesses or small business owners who are not really enlightened?
Enlightened in what sense, please?
You know, speaking English and do all the tush
We don't
things.
want you to speak English. That's the thing. We don't want you to speak English. We want you. So what we started doing recently was to bring out the culture of Nigeria in our fairs. So when we are doing our fairs, we want, as you're doing your marketing, we want your marketing to showcase your state. We're going to Benin next. We're going to Benin on the 23rd and 24th of March. After we just had Kano on the 3rd and 4th of February. So we want to showcase what is it about Kano? What is it about Benin? What is it about Lagos? Why should people want to come and support you? Do you understand?
Nelly, the way you're talking is like the drop in purchasing power is not affecting businesses, and yet, you know.
The truth is that when you work hard, when you put in your time and you work really hard, people who are going to buy from you will come out.
Doesn't
they will
matter
show
inflation.
Up.
Inflation came out yesterday, 29.9.
I saw it. I was shedding tears. Trust me, I'm shedding tears. That's where the whole marketing comes in. You know, there's a lot into this whole marketing. There's the psychological marketing, emotional marketing, a lot of you know, have to bring and build all these things. And that's where we come in, and that's why we do what we do best.
And that's why they call you Ninja Branching.
Yes.
Thank you so much for those tips for small businesses. I'm sure someone out there would be using it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks.
All right, so I guess you felt that passion there. If you're a small business, you can hop on any of the social media platforms and use some of those things that Nelly said, and it will boost your business, I believe. But that's much we can take now. I have to hand over back to the Sunrise Daily guys. Guys, if you have a small business, this is the time to hop on social media. Chamberlain and Kayla, as well as Ayo.
Vai
So, welcome and thank you for staying with us on this program, Sunrise Daily. You know that earlier in the week, even from about last week, and over the years actually, and we've also shown you a trajectory in this country, the number of times that the federal government, the National Assembly this time, has attempted and executed the process of amending the Constitution. The latest in the fray is that one that is being spoken about by the National Assembly today, particularly as pronounced by the Senate, the Senate, the President of the Senate making that declaration and saying that the Constitution is going to be amended, but this time around integrating artificial intelligence into the entire process, into the legal framework. Now, so naturally, in case you didn't know, there is such a thing as constitutional AI. Yes. Constitutional artificial intelligence, and what that is all about is a convergence of legal frameworks and all. More on that, let's have this morning how artificial intelligence can fit into governance, fit into constitutional procedures and all. We have with us here Kehinde Olateju, who is CEO and co-founder of Zero Complex AI, here in the studio with us. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Well, my name is Kehinde Olateju.
Beg your pardon, Kehinde Olateju. What did I call you?
You said Olateju.
Okay, well,
okay, I understand.
Okay. Now, not many people may be aware, actually, that there is such a thing as constitutional AI, right?
Yeah, sure.
Perhaps even because the whole concept of AI is in itself maybe a toddler. I don't want to say it's in its embryonic stage in our sphere.
I mean, yes and no, because AI has always been around, right? It just
didn't know it.
More mainstream to the global audience at the onset of at the release of ChatGPT, right? So, which is almost like an applied, like people can now see the commercial. Well, I mean, not really commercial, but the worldwide application of artificial intelligence, but it's always been in conversations in the science world, right? For research, for deep learning and things like that. So,
for those who don't know, for those in the baby boomers and Gen X, because they may not even know what you're talking about, so perhaps even some millennials. What is artificial intelligence?
I mean, artificial intelligence at the most simplest form is just basically training computer systems, right, to perform tasks that are probably assigned to human beings, right, prior to this, right? So tasks like reasoning, making decisions, even creativity, right, that we assign to just human beings. Right now, because of artificial intelligence, we can train machines, we can train computers to be able to perform those tasks, basically. So that's it. At the simplest form, that's what artificial intelligence is all about.
Now, to integrate that into what the President of the Senate is talking about, factoring in our legal procedures, legal frameworks in the light of artificial intelligence, what do you think that means?
I mean, it's a good move, but like, what's the scope, right? So there are different ways we can look at it, right? But the thought itself that, you know, artificial intelligence has to be factored in constitutional amendment. It's a good move, it's a good direction, right? Because we have to be able to factor it in the legal framework of our country, Nigeria, right? And that's what constitutional AI is really all about. It's a convergence of legal frameworks, you know, constitutional principles and agreements, you know, within AI systems, right? So countries all over the world right now are beginning to start having conversations as to how the use of AI, you know, will affect, like, for example, security, will affect critical areas, critical sectors, economy generally. So, I mean, it's a good step. It's a good step.
Well, given what we know, Papa, forgive me for putting it this way, because generally there is that believability issue, that integrity issue for anything government. So to many young people now, and many people perhaps even in your space, the comments or the position of the Senate, the upper chamber of the National Assembly today, could be perceived as just mouthing. Do you see an understanding? Do you get a feeling of an understanding of the complexities of artificial intelligence from what you can tell?
Yes, I mean,
the National
look,
Assembly.
I think even as a government, right, there's been conversations as regards adoption and use of AI. You know, under the Honourable Minister, His Excellency Dr. Bosun Tijani, was in the UK last year in November to be one of those to sign the Bletchley Declaration, right? And that was a very, very great achievement as a country like Nigeria, right? So that's one. Number two, the government itself has come up to say we need to have an AI strategy, right? And there's been works in the background ensuring that we come up with an AI strategy as a country, right? Because whether we like it or not, artificial intelligence is here to stay, right? So if we are not part of that conversation, we would eventually just be at the receiving end, right? So I think government is, I mean, in terms of adoption of AI, you know, and regulation, I think they are taking the right step. I think they should be commended for that, especially the Ministry of Technology, Technology and Digital Communications, right? They're taking the right step in that approach. So when the Senate President made mention of that, I think it's looking at all the other things, and I'm sure they're probably going to be working hand in hand with the relevant agencies and the ministry to ensure that AI is being not just regulated, but there's a balance between regulation and innovation. Right?
Well, the words of the President of the Senate says there is a need for us to touch some aspects of the Constitution to bring them in line with current realities, particularly with the era of artificial intelligence and some of the things we have observed that need to be put right. Those are his words. So that statement, to many people will be like, okay, maybe, you know, the chicken is gradually coming home to roost. As a specialist, you know, in the artificial intelligence space, what are the cautions? Knowing what we know about constitutional AI on its own, and constitutional AI, to be specific, what are the critical considerations that government needs to put in place?
Number one, data. Right, I would say data privacy, data protection. Also, a lot of our AI algorithms are going to be trained on our data, you know, as a country. So there has to be transparency, there has to be fairness, right? That's one. Number two is in the area of cybersecurity, for example, area of disinformation, right? So there has to be a concrete way to ensure that these AI algorithms, right, they are being regulated and it's open and transparent for everyone involved. There's also a need for stakeholders to come together. And when I mean stakeholders, I mean public institutions, private sector, research institutes, academia, you know, to have a roundtable conversation to say, how do we want to go about ensuring that we derive maximum benefits from this new quote-unquote technology that showed up on the radar, artificial intelligence, and also ensuring that it doesn't get into the wrong hands, right? AI in the wrong hands can mean a lot of harm, can spell a lot of harm for even us as a country, right? It can hurt our economy, it can hurt our people, right? So it's important that it doesn't get into the wrong hands, right? You know, and I'll circle back to the data. The opportunity artificial intelligence has brought up is the fact that there's now a need for us to structure our data as a country, right? Number one, look at it. Africa is going to have the highest number of young population in the next few years, right? So it means that commerce, right? Africa is going to be a major market, right? And people will need access to that data to be able to know exactly how to tailor goods and services to appeal to that market, right? So AI is going to help in all of that. So we need to be able to get ourselves together and ensure that our data is structured, right? Regardless of where it is right now, right? Structure it together and build algorithms on those data so that we can be able to have a seat at the table when it comes to artificial intelligence. That's one. Number two, a lot of the large language models that are out there are not trained on data that is peculiar to our culture, to our people, to our way of life, to our habits, right? So, number one, it presents an opportunity for us to now have our data. We are responsible for ensuring that, number one, our data is structured, and we are responsible for ensuring that we train those data ourselves, and we define those algorithms. And this is important because we want to prevent discrimination based on AI algorithm, and it's already happening in some quarters, but there's still an opportunity for us to be able to take advantage of this opportunity and also have a seat at the table globally when it comes to artificial intelligence.
Now, knowing, I'm sorry, I don't want to be a naysayer, but understanding our divergence,
yes,
ethnically, religiously, politically, how do we ensure this ethical public trust? Because I know ethics is a standing thing, you know, and I know that public trust is also an issue. I don't know why I put those two words together like that, but how do we ensure that by the ethics of AI, we're able to enshrine public trust, factoring in this issue, this particular localization, or should I say glocalization of AI for us?
I mean, it's just having conversations, and there has been conversations already, you know, among different stakeholders in this space, right? Even the honorable minister has opened his doors wide open to engage, you know, young startups, private organizations to say, look, how can we ensure that we don't get this into the wrong hands, and we also and public trust. You know, there's been a lot of interesting conversations to ensure that there's willingness from the side of the government to come to the table to have that conversations, right? So, but I also think that further down the road, there will need to be a regulatory body, national regulatory body, that will help ensure that some of these conversations are being, number one, are being had, you know, and number two, also ensure that these conversations, whatever we agree to, we stick to it. You know, we all can regulate ourselves, right?
Just this last one, you know, many of these issues that we're hearing, I know that we have all kinds of regulatory bodies. There's NIDA, there's the broadband policy, there's all kinds of policy in the tech space for Nigeria. But then you also said that there is a need for those conversations to be had.
Yes.
To a large extent, young people feel that they are excommunicated, so to speak. I don't know how many people know, for instance, that Nigeria has such a thing as a broadband policy. I don't even know how many people are aware that we have such a thing as cybercrime law in the country. I'm just saying. Okay. Now, we have quite a huge population of young people, and we're talking about AI now. What kind of conversation and how should we be talking to the young people?
I mean, I think there's been efforts on the part of government to ensure that there's education in all of this, right? So but there has to be continuous dialogue, continuous education, right? So the goal is just to keep conversations happening, right? You know, one of the good thing that this administration has done is to ensure that we have someone that we can relate to at the helm of affairs when it comes to technology, right? Okay. In the person of his honorable Minister, Dr. Boson Tijani. I mean, he's an ecosystem person, so we have access to him to some extent.
Again, it's important to have those conversations at the end of the day, in a way that the young people can understand it. Yeah. Well, constitutional AI, I guess the National Assembly is now aware that there is such a thing. Constitutional AI. Kennedy Olateru, CEO and co-founder, Zero Complex AI. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So I have one last lap this morning. Chamberlain.
Yes, indeed. Talking politics, and Professor Sonny Eromosele is here with us. He is an aspirant for the ticket of Labour Party ahead of the Edo governorship election and primaries. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Mr. Chamberlain. Good morning. Nice meeting today.
Yeah, how is it going for you at the moment in terms of your strategy, planning to secure the ticket of your party?
Thank you very much. We are doing very well, and we'll be campaigning, moving around the state to seek support, and also sharing with them that the reason why I should be the next governor of the state, because I'm committed to the state development. So we're doing well. Yesterday, I've just done my screening with the National Work Committee of Labour Party in Abuja.
You are someone who's done a lot in the area of business, academics. So one wonders, why politics?
Thank you. There is this saying, it is not the man that cannot write, but that cannot read. That does not understand the benefit of politics. They will tell you, politics is not important, and therefore avoid politics. But you fail to realize that those who decide the quality of life, they are those who play the politics, and then they decide the well-being. And so, looking at that scenario, I've been in oil and gas and I've been in education. But the quality of my life in the state is what made me to take a decision to go into politics. Because at the moment, the state is in a precarious state. There are challenges in the state I came from, Edo State. People are languishing in poverty. And I think I need to come in to take a leadership position in order to enhance governance in the state.
But you've seen the way they do politics in this country and in the state. You've seen the kind of things they deploy, how they go about it. So coming from your background in oil and gas and academics, you think it's something you can equally get in there and better the lot who are in there?
Yes. I've passed through that route, It's just like David said, I have fought lions in the forest and I can take down Goliaths. We had politics also in business. And in oil and gas for 45 years, it was difficult for Nigerians to have a space in terms of contributing, having job opportunity in oil and gas. Filipinos, Indians were all in the stage. And I came in and said, wait a minute, where are our people? It was very simple. There was no institutions to give the necessary skill to Nigerians. And I established a wedding institute, training people. Not too long, Nigeria invaded and took over the stage. Then, most of the construction materials were being taken outside the country to Europe and then to US to qualify the entire process of wedding the construction. I said, no, that can be done in country. I established a quality laboratory center in the country. Then they stopped flying those things there. So I understand and I have idea what it is to play politics. And politics is, everybody's involved in politics. Everyday life is politics.
I mean, you are up against some very stiff opposition as you run for this ticket in Edo State. What do you think your chances are? Do they look good for you right now?
Thank you very much. Like I've always told people, David and Goliath. Sorry, I'm always using David and Goliath.
Are you David in this
I'm
situation?
the David, yes, I'm the David.
Who's Goliath?
The Goliaths, Where is those big APC and PDP, they claim to be Goliaths.
I see.
But unfortunately, they have failed the state. And so, Edo people are looking for someone who will change the narrative of governance. And they see what I've been doing. I brought a university to my state, not in the city, to a village, there where the road is not tied. I've trained a lot of people, giving a scholarship to the citizens. So it's going to be who is coming out, not just about the party. I'm the second OB.
I want to talk about your party, actually, on a national scale. Your party is actually being talked about a lot right now, and the stories are not very good. Not to get into all of the details of it, but you know what I'm talking about, the accountability question. We have a leadership issue going on right now, at least it's perceived as such. Do you think that that would in any way affect how the people of Edo State view your party, at least at this time, as you go into these elections?
Let me tell you, these are all part of the politics. People are responsible for those blackmailing and all that. There is nothing wrong with the leadership. Somebody came out and said, there is money missing, there is misappropriation of figures. You go through the internal mechanism to resolve that. You understand? So
you don't think that will affect perception of
No, not about Iromosele, not about me. So that is it. Labour is still very strong. We know the game they are playing.
Who's they?
Oh, other political parties, the PDP and APC, especially the PDP. I can tell you.
You think the crisis in the Labour Party is fomented by the PDP?
Yes, there are external hands, strange hands. They know that Labour Party is to be the next. We walk to the Osadebe's house. Labour Party is to beat in the next election.
So how do you plan to navigate those kind of waters? How are you managing both groups? Because if one group says, no, we don't support you, we didn't come for you or support you as the person to get a ticket, and the other group says, yeah, so how do you manage them?
Labour Party is intact. We are united. And if you look at it, we have equal opportunity to demonstrate our competencies and capabilities. And so we have a plain level ground. So we are all there to showcase to our people what we have and what we have for them, for the people. And so I believe that we're able to manage the internal issues with the Labour Party and then overcome and then flog those...
Are you reaching out to both groups?
Of
Labour Party?
Yes. We're interacting. Yesterday we were together. We have interactions and...
both groups? You mentioned both groups?
For the Akpata group, is it the other group?
Yeah.
No, the event has overtaken that. We have one national chairman, who is Barrister Aburi. So I don't know any second group that is there. I don't believe in.
You don't think that there will be a legal issue if at the end of the day, Aburi's group supports you? You don't think Akpampa group can say, well, no, the law does not recognize him as substantive, except, you don't see that as a challenge?
No, not at all. They've already been to the Supreme Court. So it's not an issue to debate or to discuss at the moment. I don't think so.
So what is that you want to do for Edo people that other candidates cannot or will not do?
Thank you. I have an agenda called the RISE, not the RICE.
R-I-C-E?
Yes. R-I-S-E.
Oh.
RISE, like the sunrise.
Oh.
I don't need to rise, not the rice. What is the difference between these two? It's the letter C and letter S. Letter C in the rice has been their tradition. Corruption, consumption, and consumption of the generations and the future of our people. That has been the tradition. They buy a wrapper, they give you money. That is all. That is not sustainable. So the people are living in abject poverty.
You won't do that for the people?
No, I am bringing sustainable thing, not palliative. It's like a man that was at the... I want your life to be improved. What they are doing is palliative. It's just palliative. So I want them to rise, to work. They have to take their destiny into their hands. I want to see how their future is secured now. And I want to see how to be empowered. So I'm not talking about consumption of rice. Rice is good. They should I give rice. I've been giving rice. But what I mean is they need to rise up and work. That is it.
Well, will you be disappointed at the end of the day if they take your rice and, you don't emerge as the candidate?
Of Labour Party?
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you, go and verify, go and check. I'm the one they're talking about. I am on ground, not those in the sky, in social medias and all that. The people know who they want.
Something happened recently with the Belgian ambassador. The Belgian ambassador, there's a minister from the Belgian government who came to Nigeria, and they said they're going to do a program in Edo State. And the program had to do with, some kind of sensitization, because they were talking about how they had a problem in their country where the bulk of the people who were engaging, who were being trafficked, were from Edo State. And that's not the only issue that is being looked at when it comes to your state. There's also crime, especially what people are calling Yahoo business and things like that. How do you, if you were in charge of that place, in what ways would you, tackle that situation?
Let me tell you, even before now, I wrote to the government to look into that. Legal migration, not illegal migration. And why are they leaving the states? And that is why I use the letter S, to secure them in the state. They need the right skill in order to be able to contribute to the development of the state. The environment is not palatable for them. They don't have government relationship. The environment is not suitable. So they're looking for somewhere to be. Every child, every boat that capsized today in the Mediterranean Sea, Edo's son or daughter is there. If you go to their prisons, you'll find Edo people there. Why are they living if the environment is secured? If the basic necessity of life is provided for them? That is what I want to provide for them. That is the difference. Governance is about the people. It's not about having seaport, having airport. No. What you see them talking about is projects, which is about capital issues and all that. It's private business they're talking about, not about people. I have not seen them talking about people. I have not seen them talking about the environment. I have not seen them talking about the resources, how to harness resources to create wealth for the people. These are the missing things and which I want to bridge in my time and with my team.
So at the moment now, what is the kind of feedback you're getting from those who you are talking to now? Because it is not the general voters that will participate in that primary, is there? Yes, sir. How's your strategy for that?
Yeah, I'm interacting with, a lot of them are also calling me. They want to align with me for the past 2 days.
But that's what they all say in politics, that everybody wants me. They want me to be there, but we'll see what happens. Only one winner.
They've seen the man that has what it takes. I am from Edo Central, and we're talking about equity today. And people are saying, this is the man that has been doing something. This is the man that's on ground. This is the man that is with us. Eromosele is with them. I live at home. I have business at home. I invested over 10 billion in my community in Edo State. I've asked a lot of them, show me 10 million investment in your community. They said charity begins at home. So if you are wealthy, you have so much money, you say you are a billionaire, how does that reflect in the life of your people? That is what people are saying. Don't tell us you are a billionaire. Don't tell us you have this. How does that impact? What changes have you brought to your people? That is the difference between myself and these people.
So if you had an option, what would you like to see change in the way we play politics in this country?
I want to see people's participation. Because what you see today is somebody brings the money, he said he has so much money, and he buys everybody like commodity. And at the end of the day, they push them aside. No, people should be involved. They should contribute to their aspirants. Those that they believe in should be part of their project.
So why did you go for the governorship? Why not House of Reps or senatorial elections or something?
That is where the problem is in the state. I wasn't in politics. I didn't plan to go into politics. So I'm riding on Isaiah 6:8. Say, whom shall I send? Who will go for us? I say, send me. Because the people are crying every day.
They didn't send you to House of Reps, Senate?
No, I don't have time.
They sent you to governor.
No,
Isaiah didn't say go to governorship.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, they prayed. There is problem in the state.
Yeah, but they didn't pray for it's only governor can solve the problem. Other people can too.
No.
Other positions.
See, the current problem requires people like me. I've just told you. For ages, 45 years, oil and gas. We couldn't produce engineers. We couldn't participate in oil and gas. I was the one that broke that barrier. In aircraft today, go and verify. You cannot run aircraft in Nigeria without my input. I established a calibration center to prevent taking our tools out of the country. I stopped that. We didn't have wedding institute. We have universities. We didn't have we couldn't develop programs to run to train wedding engineers. And that is our major source of revenue, 90%. Unfortunately, we do not have people participating. I break that. and have built a university. Now the problem in the state is governance. It's governance, and that's why I'm interested.
All right, Professor Sonny Eromosada, Labour Party governorship aspirant for the forthcoming Edo governorship elections, and then the primaries as well. You need to scale that hurdle first. Thank you for coming on, and we wish you all the best.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
All right, so do we have a message coming through? I think there's one from, I think, Dixon. Dixon is talking about setting up of task forces on food shortage by the states and federal government. He says it's just a mere surface dressing that will not address the high cost of living. Government wants the so-called market forces to determine fuel, electricity, and education prices, but wants to control the food prices for the farmers, the hunger in the country, and its associated pains are a result of the cost of production, including transportation, which is direct consequence of the removal of subsidy, floating the naira. He goes on. So thank you for your message, and that's the tweet as well from everyone there. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain, so have a very good weekend.
And I'm Kayla Megwa. Keep your energy up and have a wonderful weekend.
And I'm Aya Makinde. Have a wonderful day and a beautiful weekend. Bye for now.